Hi, this is Ennis from Never Stop Trucking. Today I want to talk about false claims on loads from brokers. There are a few comments on the channel that asked me about this, and I've had it happen twice where the broker put a claim on the load, but everything was okay with the load. Sometimes these brokers are pressured from their customers and they just like to carry over that to us, even though it wasn't our fault. It wasn't the broker's fault either. But we deal with brokers directly. We don't deal with their customers. So, that's what we get from all this, like, hey, the broker put a claim on us, these brokers, why do they do that? So, first time I had this happen was with glass. So these were sheets of glass, they're on racks, and they put them on metal racks standing up like this. And usually they have maybe two or three of these big racks in your truck, and they put them in the middle. And there are a couple of shippers in New York State and Pennsylvania that do these. When the truck gets to these plants, the truck backs up in, they load it in, and the driver has nothing to do with the load. Because the way they do this is they themselves put these sheets of glass, and these sheets are like 4 by 8, something like that, and they put them standing up, like leaning, on both sides of that metal rack, and then they put them, standing up like this. And what they do is they secure them around that metal rack with straps or bands, and they're very tight. It cannot move anywhere. And all they do is just bring those metal racks in the trailer, and then they nail down few pieces of 2x4s in the front, on the sides, in the back, so these metal racks do not move. So they do everything themselves. And then when the driver gets to delivery, they take off those metal racks like that and just keep them, and the load is done. So when my driver arrived at the delivery, they unloaded the trailer, signed the paperwork, and the driver was on his way. And then a broker called me and said, "Hey, there were a few broken pieces of glass, and then they asked me, like, do I know, and like, what happened? I don't know what happened. The driver picked them up and delivered them. That's all what happened." And then they were asking, and they always do this, like, was there any sudden braking, from the driver? And I said, I don't know. I'll ask the driver. And the driver asked me. The driver told me, I think it was a long time ago. I think driver told me that he doesn't remember that he had to suddenly, come to a sudden stop or anything like that. But even then, that this is a stupid claim. The trucks were designed, the trailers, and the load is secured. The load should not move anywhere unless the shipper, when they load, they don't load it correctly. Sometimes they're supposed to put these cushions between the pallets, or they the pallets themselves, like the product is smaller than the pallet. So when they put these pallets together next to each other, the pallets will touch each other, but the product, it's pulled in, like maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 inches from the edge of the pallet, and now you have a big space between these the product, or even bigger, and then it can move, and that's not our fault. Uh, so I always ask them, well, would you rather want my driver to, hit someone instead of, break down suddenly, like if someone comes out, in the front of the driver, something happens where, the driver has to react, then, of course you have to stop. You don't want to kill anyone, okay? And then they say, well, now the load moved, and that's the driver's fault. No, it's not. It's shipper's fault because they didn't load it correctly. But anyway, there was no damage. When the load was delivered, they didn't say anything. They signed the paperwork. Usually when receivers sign, they would put their name or the signature. Sometimes they'll put in a date, and that means that the load was clean. When the broker asks you like clean paperwork, that means there are no shortages, there are no overages, no damages. Everything is fine with the load. Otherwise, when the receiver signs it, they would put a note and say what was wrong with the load, and you're supposed to let the broker know right away, and then and ask how to proceed. But in this case, it was signed, clean paperwork, no damages, no shortages. That's it. Now it's a legal proof of delivery, and it legally shows that there was nothing wrong with the load, because when you're unloading the load, you're supposed to inspect it, and then if you see something wrong, and then you report it, and then before the driver leaves, then we try to see what to do. The broker came back to me and said, now they want to put a claim on the load because there was the damages, and then of course they have my insurance now. I can't prevent it, from filing a claim. And then I had an argument with them, and sure enough, the broker proceeded with the claim, and but what was funny is that they had like 3 or 4 pieces of glass, and then each of these racks contains at least like 10-20 sheets of glass, so maybe like 30 to 60 pieces of glass on that load, and there were 3 or 4 of them that were cracked or damaged, and they put a claim on the whole load. They want the money, and they received now they're double dipping. They received the whole load. Maybe something was damaged, like 10% of the load, or not even that, and they have their load, and now they want the money too for the whole load, which is just not a scam. It's insurance fraud in my eyes, and they should be they should not be allowed to do that, but they can do that. So when my insurance contacted me and asked me about that, I told them what happened, and I sent them the clean bill of lading as a proof that there was nothing. And sure enough, they rejected that claim. They flat out said, no, we're not going to pay it. But now the broker, we already did a couple of these loads for them before that they haven't paid us yet. Now the broker said, well, you owe us was like $10,000 or so, and I had a balance with them of like $2,000 or $3,000 with the broker, and they never paid me that. They said, well, we're just going to hold that money because they can, and we're never going to pay you. And I made sure that I don't work with that broker anymore ever again, because whatever I do, because they would call me and offer me loads. Hey, we have this load for you. And I said, no, I don't want to. If I do this load for you, you're not going to pay it to me. So, and then I contacted their bond carrier, and they said, well, there was a damage, and like they didn't want to pay it. So it was just something that they can get away with. Good thing they didn't owe me more money. But I learned my lesson. And another thing, there was another load real quick. A driver was delivering lockers for a school, and these lockers were in boxes, and they were hand loaded and hand unloaded. And he delivered it directly to a school, and they unloaded these lockers in front of him, and I think he even helped them. And they were installing them right away in the school, and they would just right there on the parking lot, they would just tear them off, like take them out of the boxes, these metal lockers, and they just carry them inside the school. And the driver was there the whole time, and then they signed the paperwork, everything was clean. And then after a few days, they came back and said, hey, there were a few damaged lockers, and we're going to claim it. And the driver was there the whole time, and they were opening up in front of us. And now they come back, probably the people that carried inside, did something. And I think it was even on the inside. Something was bad on the inside, and I told them, like, ask the people who carry it, ask the shipper, because maybe they sent it like that. If it's damaged on the inside, what do we have to do with that? And the insurance also rejected this claim as well. But now, if the broker owes you money, they're not going to pay. You have to go after them, or you can't work with them anymore. So it's just a bad practice. What to do in that case, I don't know. You can fight as much as you can, but it happens. So thanks for watching. Come back for more and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you around.